Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very happy to be with you today in Geneva. Actually, to meet with all of you and to talk about how we started Islamic Relief nearly 40 years ago. Islamic Relief started as an initiative by young people who did not have any vision or any strategy or any budget or any office or even address. But we started as a response to the famine in Ethiopia, in Eritrea and Tigray, 1983. Here is the message for the young people like you and the others. You don't need to have a lot of money to start. You don't need to have a lot of resources to start. You don't need to have a lot of people to start. What you need is your belief in what you're going to do and the vision of what is needed to be done for the people and the message that you will deliver to the public and the mission that should not be short-lived, should be a lifelong mission. Like if we talk about humanitarian work that you are doing nowadays, it is not a job. It should be taken as a message, mission, to deliver a vision to the people who need your service. Like if we talk about Albania, I don't go to Albania today and leave tomorrow. I go to Albania because I need to do something. It's education, empowerment, economic empowerment, awareness, and other things. I want to go to Afghanistan. Afghanistan needs everything. Needs health, services, needs empowerment, needs education, needs building economy, needs building civil society organizations, and building the community, building the country again after the country has been in war since the late 70s. I want to go to Bosnia, where there was a conflict in 1992, 30 years ago, of ethnic cleansing. And there might be another conflict coming, don't know, because the peace in Bosnia is fragile. Shall I go and leave? Or shall I go and stay? Shall I go and develop? Shall I go and help? Shall I go and empower? So our work, it should be a lifelong mission, never-ending story. If you want to become a humanitarian worker, you don't become a humanitarian worker to work for 6 months, or 1 year, or 2 years. You become a humanitarian worker to stay with the people as long as they want you to stay with them, not as long as you want to stay with them. As long as they want you to stay with them. While you are there, you have to empower the people, to educate the people, to build their economy, and to raise their awareness. And if they become mature enough, you become an advisor and go to develop another area. It's not just a project that you finish or a program made out of few projects. No, it's more than that. It's building the future generation, saving the current generation, and educating the current and future generation of not to fall in the same mistake again. This is the work that we need to do. As I said earlier on, we did not have any resources. I keep saying this everywhere I go. But we managed to create the resources. We had no budget, but we managed to make budget. We had no strategy, but we managed to make strategy. And this is how you put your right foot at the right direction to help the right people, and Allah will take you by the hand while you are working. While you are working, not sitting at home and making dua. Oh my God, Allah help. Allah, inna Allah la yaghayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yaghayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah does not change the situation of the people unless they themselves try to change their own situation. Okay? So scratch my back, I scratch your back. This is how we started. In Bangladesh, in Sudan, at the beginning, 1984, it was responding to the famine in East Africa, just raising fund and sending fund to partners without opening any offices. Then, by 1991, 1992, we started to open offices. 1990, 91, 92. The first two offices were actually in Sudan and Bangladesh. Okay, in Sudan and Bangladesh. Bangladesh in 1991 had a cyclone which affected 25 million people. More than 25 million people were underwater. Sudan also had something like a cyclone in 1990, and we have to respond to that. It was flooding. The Nile was flooding the city of Khartoum, and a lot of houses had been destroyed. So we have to travel. You know what? At that time we were doing? We were trying to help you by bringing tents, ex-army tents, 14 feet by 14 feet for families. The first plane was sent to Sudan in 1990 with 500 tents. And our intervention in Bangladesh was actually try to do the microfinance, which is sponsoring people to buy rickshaws, like, the rickshaw, and the nets for fishing nets, the mini tractors for the farmers and others, to build the community. So between Sudan and Bangladesh, Sudan was responding to the flooding in Khartoum in one way, in Bangladesh responding to the cyclone in a different way, by buying cows to the people, by buying rickshaw to the people, by buying fishing nets to the people, by buying mini tractors to the people. Then we started to talk about orphan sponsorship and others. This is when you started to open the first two offices of Islamic Relief in Sudan and in Bangladesh. But before that, our vision was on what we call them nowadays the fundraising offices. Why Islamic Relief having a unique situation? Because we started to open offices in European and the American and the Canadian rich countries like UK, France, Belgium, Holland, Switzerland, Sweden, Germany, USA, Canada. To raise the fund from these countries and to spend the fund in countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bosnia, and other countries, Somalia and other countries. So the unique situation of Islamic Relief nowadays is because of two things. Because the income of Islamic Relief is coming from different sources, different location. We are not like the Gulf countries or the Gulf organization who only have one source of income from a rich Arab country. Okay? But that's why it's difficult to close Islamic Relief, because each entity of Islamic Relief is respected by its own government. By the American government, by the Canadian government, by the British government, by the Swiss government, and others. So you cannot be closed if somebody attacks you in all these countries, because there's a law governing such countries. This is the unique situation. If you give the example nowadays of Syria, they be more talented than us, the Syrian, but they only have one source of income. And they don't have public donation, because Syrian as public, so 20-25 million people, are displaced inside Syria, becoming very poor, or outside Syria become very poor refugees. Internally displaced people inside Syria, externally displaced become refugees. So in spite of the fact that the Syrian individuals are very talented, but they could not be able to have this multiplicity of income, different sources of income. They were relying on two sources, either the United Nations and European Union as was one source, or on the Gulf countries as another source. But the unique situation of Islamic Relief, from the very beginning, we thought about the diversity of the income of the organization from different European and American countries. The second unique situation was our eyes were on where the decision is made. That's why in 1993 we registered Islamic Relief at UN. 93. This year, the 30th anniversary. It was 29th of March, 1993. So you are inside the kitchen of the decision maker for the last 30 years. From the infancy stage of Islamic Relief, you were there to listen, to learn, actually, to observe, to connect, and to build partnership. That's why when September 11th came in 2001, Islamic Relief was in the kitchen. A lot of organizations and governments knew Islamic Relief. So it was saved. Nobody could have axed the neck of Islamic Relief. At the time where the President of USA, George Bush Jr., announced the closure of more than 20 organizations in USA, but Islamic Relief was saved because of its presence before September 11th, because people knew Islamic Relief 10 years before September 11th. This is where, when you start as a young organization, you have to focus on the local community, you have to focus on the partnership, who are your partner, you have to focus on your presence in different international institutions, you have to focus on the quality of the message you deliver and the program you make. It's not just taking a photograph with the president will save your neck. No. You have to be sitting with the president, with the queen, with the king, with the minister, and discussing what's needed to be done by Islamic Relief or by any other organization. This is how, from the very beginning, we addressed the source of income. We addressed how can we be in places where we could be protected by our partners, such as United Nations. Even, you know what? We registered Islamic Relief at European Union in September 2001. Okay, 2001, and 22 years ago. We got the partnership agreement in April 2002. But the agreement came in September 2001, end of September 2001. This is something which will tell you, it's not about, oh, we went to Sudan first, we went to Bosnia first. Doesn't work this way, especially at your age, especially at the time. Nowadays, which is absolutely different to what was before 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. So we'll talk about the presence of the organization inside global institution and the source of income. Something else was very important. It is to stick to your principles. My principles are humanitarian, not political, not military, not religious. If I say it is political, I have to become a politician. If I say it's economical, I have to become an economist. If I say humanitarian, I have to follow and observe the humanitarian principles. I can add more humanitarian principles to the existing humanitarian principles, but I should not go off or outside the humanitarian principles. The humanitarian principles tells me not to interfere politically, religiously, or militarily in any country. You don't have to be biased. Impartiality, partnership, transparency, non-alliance, all these kind of things. Yes?
Quick question. We need to stick to humanitarian, but sometimes there is some dilemma.
Yes.
Have you experienced some of this kind?
Sometimes with impartiality and being what؟ اللي هو عدم الانحياز والحيادية. Neutrality and impartiality. Sometimes in cases of certain countries it doesn't work. But you cannot express your emotional feeling in the field. I'll give you the example. During the Bosnia crisis or the Bosnia ethnic cleansing, to get the aid material to certain area, we have to give some part of it to the Serb and the Croat, because they both conditioned. In the conflict between the south and north of Sudan, who used to work in the north, Khartoum and north of Sudan. Well, to go to the south, you have to consult the people in the south and the people in the north. And they have to call it cross-border. To be seen by the northern government and to be seen by the southern government, that you are impartial to both of them. You have a project for South Sudan to follow the humanitarian principles. You have a project for the north of Sudan, follow the same humanitarian principles. This kind of things, like to keep the impartiality and neutrality sometimes difficult, because you find a lot of oppression happening to the refugees and the internally displaced. But what makes you successful is not to shout, is not to be seen that you are biased to the victim. You can advocate for the victim, but you should not be biased to the victim. Like actually in the case of the earthquake of Turkey and Syria this year, people sometimes were biased to the Syrian, but you have to treat both of them equal. Not because Turkey has a stronger government, that does not mean that they need help. No, they need help. But they need help in the presence of a strong government. The Syrian needs help in the presence of no government. So while you are dealing with both, actually you have to treat them equally. Or you can coordinate with other partners. If you have the fund and the ability, if you have the ability to work for the Syrian, you can take the fund from some other organization who have the ability to work in Turkey. This kind of partnership is very important. You might have raised maybe $2-3 million, be one of them for Syria inside, the other 2 million for Turkey. And I have raised $3-4 million, 2-3 for Syria and 1 for Turkey. So with this partnership, actually I can ask the organization who is capable to do the work in Turkey to do it for me, my behalf, and they can ask me to do it on their behalf. This is what actually we need to look at, actually, how can we address the issues without being biased, actually. Biased against religion, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا. They feed people out of love. Miskin, the needy, orphans, and prisoner of war. He did not know, astaghfirullah, he did not say who is the miskin, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. He did not say who is the yatim, the orphan, Muslim or non-Muslim. He did not say, no, he said even the prisoner of war. At the time when this ayah was revealed, the prisoners of war were mainly non-Muslims. But Allah said, you feed the prisoner of war out of love. It is not out of job description. Job description is something, but your respect to the prisoner of war is something else. Your love to the service to the prisoner of war is something else. And this is where we look at the impartiality and look at the inclusivity of Islam as a message. So this is where we can look at how we started Islamic Leaf 40 years ago. Next year, on 17th of January, will be the 40th anniversary. So for you, young people, you have to ask yourself a question. Why you are here? Why you are here? Are you here for a job? Are you here to promote yourself for a better job? Are you here only to learn? Or are you here for a mission? Okay? You should be here for a mission, for a message, and for a lifelong profession that you can develop yourself inside it. Humanitarian and social work became a profession, like teaching, like agriculture, like medicine, like engineering, like politics, like economy. All these are professions, like media, profession. Humanitarian work is a profession. Exactly. And it's very much needed by young people like yourself. It's not just something that I do because I did not find a job somewhere else. If you come to humanitarian work like this, I don't want to see you. Please find a job for yourself somewhere else. Don't come. You know why? Because in this field of work, you deal with human being. You deal with the lives of beings. You deal with the future dreams or the dreams of the young children who want to become lawyers, doctors, engineers, okay, economists, businessmen, businesswomen. You are dealing with their dreams. You are not dealing with building blocks, bricks. You're dealing with life, souls, and spirit of the people. You're dealing with people, when they look at you, when you come to the camp or to the community center, said, oh my God, Allah, going to take me back to my country. Allah cannot do it because it does not have the political, the economical, or the military, or whatever you call it, decision. Or Ahmad will take me, or Ahmad will take me to the university. Ahmad will take me from the camp into Canada or America or whatever country to get my education. Ahmad cannot do it. Asim cannot do it. Amira cannot do it, but the child sees you as you are the savior. This how you can look at the child with how the child can see you, not how can you see the child. It's not how can you see him or her, it's how he can see you, how he can or she can think about you. Responsibility. Once he looks at you coming to the camp or the community center, he makes you responsible. He appoints you as a child, or she appoints you as a child as to become his or her custodian, supporter, advocate. Okay? This is how responsibility make you responsible to every child who can see you, can listen to you, and that's why never ever promise something that you cannot do. It's not haram to say I cannot do it, but it's haram to say I can do it and you don't do it. It's haram to keep giving promises to the children that you are coming next week or the week after with a football or basketball or a volleyball net, understand, and you are not going to come back. It's haram to tell them I'm going to build a school for you and you don't build it. It's haram. Don't ever promise, never promise something that actually you cannot do. Don't keep promises on the table. Do what you can. Even if you cannot do, say I cannot do. One day we went to Chechnya after the first war, 1995. And we were going around. The people in charge of the Ministry of Education refused to give us any information. You know why? They said, you people like you came here, took all the information and went and disappeared. Nothing will be given to you. What we told them, we cannot promise that we can do anything for you, but give us what you can. They refused. They told us we have been backstabbed by people like you, who 6 months were here and they disappeared, making nice promises to our children, to our women, to ourselves as government officers. No information. But we managed to get the information, and the office is still working up till today. It's from 1995. So don't be very emotionally excited when you see people and your adrenaline will go up. Ah! There's nothing called in our work. You have to be cold-blooded. You have to be observant. You have to be a listener. You have to be comprehending the information given to you by the people. You have to understand their needs. Because the best one who will explain the needs are the needy themselves. Don't ever make a solution from Geneva or from Paris or from Rome or from New York or from Cairo or from Riyadh or from Kuwait. No! Solution should be made locally. First, answer to come from the people who are suffering. Then we can look how can we alleviate their suffering and how can respond to their needs. You have to take the right information from the right people at the right time, at the right place. And those people are the people who are really suffering. You want to say something? You can ask any question when I'm talking.
No, I totally agree with you on the fact that the solution needs to be found locally. But here, we are in a fundraising office. So we're sometimes not connected with the reality of.
You have to visit the field.
Okay, that needs to be done often.
It has.
Okay.
It is not, you cannot just sit on a desk to look at a screen and read a report. is good but not good enough. You have to be seen with the people, listening to them. And when you are with those people, you know what to do? You have to see yourself inside their picture. What does it mean? You look at the picture that you took from them, or you took for them. Don't just feel pity because they are poor, they are miserable. Put yourself in the situation of this child, or this man, or this woman. If I was there, what I could have been doing for my community. If this was my family, if this were my children, whom I can't find any medicine for them, any school for them, any clothes for them, any shoes for them, any recreation program like football and others for them. Put yourself inside the picture with other people. Don't just keep looking at the picture as an observer. This is why whenever you go to the field, feel that you are one of the people who suffer, not one of the people who come to give nice talks. Not one of the people who just want to take some photograph to raise fund. No, while you are raising fund, you have to understand from the woman and the child and the man why I want to raise the fund for. He has to tell me. Because the one who will be in charge of such fund are the poor people. It is their money. And I am the way of spending their money. The money does not belong to the organization. The money does not belong to even to the donors. Once it becomes sadaqah or zakat, it's not yours anymore. Khalas, finished. It is the money of those people. So be careful. When you overspend it on you in Geneva, and the trickle of it only goes to Africa or to Asia. There's trickle. The vice versa should be there. Actually, the majority of the fund should be spent, and the less fund should be spent on the office in the headquarters.
I have a question about
Yes.
your experience, more specifically in Sarajevo. So, in the video that was recorded by Al Jazeera, you said that the hardest thing for you was the inability to deliver aid while Sarajevo was under siege in 1995. And you also mentioned that you had to cross the Igman mountain
Yes.
with a car, and you had to switch off the lights so that you are not get caught, and that the path was very hard. Can you sort of get deep into that story and explain
Yeah.
the experience?
You're talking about Sarajevo, you're talking about Bosnia. Bosnia was the ugliest scar, and still the ugliest scar on the face of Europe and humanity. Because Bosnia, as we today, 9, 10, and 11 of July, was the commemoration of the massacre of Srebrenica, which led at least 14,000 people to disappear. But what we found so far is less than 9,000 remains of bodies. Bosnia crisis of ethnic cleansing. There was something about ethnic cleansing for ethnic cleansing. One of which is to dismantle the fabric of the family of the Bosnian people by organizing systematic, organized rape supported by governments. They used to take the young girls in the camps, in the concentration camps, and in one day she could be raped 4, 5, 6 times. The soldier from these groups used to take some tablets before Viagra. So his ability to make sex 5, 6, 7 times a day. They have been documented. But unfortunately, neither the Bosnian nor the Muslims made a lot of video about it. Okay. That's why it was very, very painful and very ugly. We observed a young girl at the age of 4 reported as victim of rape. Old woman at the age of 70 reported as a victim of rape. What are you going to, what pleasure or joy you have when you make sex to a 4-year-old girl? And this has been reported in The Guardian in March 1995. And what joy and pleasure you have when you rape a 70-year-old woman. It is to break the moral system of the woman and to break the fabric of the family life of the Bosnian at that time. This is why it was not just something of a mistake done by 1 or 2 people, though it was systematically done. The Bosnian War claimed the life of nearly 250,000 people. 80% of them were actually, 75 to 80% were Muslims. Most of the old monuments, mosques and other places have been destroyed. Even the Sarajevo library and registered mosques and others in different places have been burned down. We counted more than 600 mosques have been destroyed, demolished, or burned down, including the Sarajevo Public Library, which we lost a lot of hundreds or thousands of manuscripts and old books being put in the library. They knew that they're going to be burned down, but couldn't be able to save all the books and the manuscript. This was the war against history, war against human being, war against dignity, war against morality, and war against family. This is the context of the Bosnia War, or Bosnia ethnic cleansing. On the video, yes, at that time, you have to cross Mount Egmont to go to Sarajevo because there was a siege for 3 years. And when I met Ali Izetbegovic 3 times, the late president of Bosnia. When I met him, when I entered Sarajevo in 1993, he refused to leave Sarajevo. And his office was at the river facing Mount Egmont. And he said, I cannot leave Sarajevo and leave my people alone. And they told me, we are like the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, who have been in the siege, under the siege in Mecca for 3 years. And I believe, Ali Azza said that, rahmatullah alayh, that at the end of the 3 years, we'll break the siege. It did happen in 1995. And Allah led them to break the siege at the end, at that time, 1995, from 1992 to 1995. So to go to Sarajevo at that time, you can't go during the day because you have to cross Mount Egmont, which was controlled by Serb snipers. You have to go after 11 o'clock or after 10 o'clock. You have to switch off the light of the battery of the car and the light of the car itself. And many cars fall down to the valley because the mountain was not paved to get cars to drive the cars during the day or during night. That's why all this light has been switched off. It was one of the most horrible and frightening journey that I had in my life. But alhamdulillah, we managed to enter the village next to Sarajevo in the evening, to stay overnight, then following day we entered Sarajevo. And this is how Bosnia was close by in Europe, But Europe, either they ignored the ethnic cleansing process in Bosnia, or they failed to support the victims of the war in Bosnia. And when I saw the women and the girls and the young children in Slovaneski Brod and Chernomir, and this kind of people, when they looked at me at that time, say, they thought that I can do something for them. And I knew that I can do nothing for them. Each one of them wanted to go back to Sarajevo tomorrow. This was 1992. May 1992. But I couldn't be able to promise. I couldn't be able to look at the eyes and the glare, the glaring glare of their eyes. It's coming. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. On every situation, but I can't do nothing. This is where you control yourself of giving the promise. Young women, young girls, young children, never, ever say, yes, I will do it. And you can't, because you will never come back. So you leave the scene with this kind of pain in your heart. Because you saw the victims, you know what they need, but you have no resources for them. Neither political, economical, or social resources for them. You can keep asking. Carry on. You can actually ask it in this session or the second session. Because I'm with you till tomorrow afternoon. And I was planning to take you after that, but now it's sending me to United Nations at 7 o'clock, so you are running away from me, yeah? But tomorrow from 8 o'clock, huh?
We stick with you.
Alhamdulillah.
We stick with you.
Yalla. Ask any question. Yeah.
In 1989, you briefly decided to quit UK and to start farming. And for me, it was very interesting. What was the decision to go farming? And then after 4 months, you came back.
Yeah. He's talking about my history, my personal history. 1989, Islamic Leaf was just an infant. Not even an infant. A baby who just came, does not have any shape. And I did not see a vision for Islamic Leaf at that time. And I love farming. My family was not from a farming background, never had a farm, never lived in a farm, never have animal at home, with a cow or a buffalo or dog, or no even dog is not there, but not talking about dogs, goat or sheep. But I love farming. I said to my wife, I'm fed up with my study of the doctor of medicine. I'm fed up with Islamic Leaf. Because still, and I went to look for a farm to try to build a community. But I failed. As Allah gave me a lesson. He said, okay, you want to become farmer? I don't want you to become farmer. And one of my colleagues in Cairo told me, why don't you go and finish your doctor of medicine and come back as a doctor or a farming doctor? And a farmer with a doctorate. I said, okay, let me finish it and come back to you. And when I finished my doctorate in 1991, I never come back to Egypt to do the farming, because Islamic Leaf went from that time big, especially in 1992. 1990 was the flood in Sudan. We raised £250,000. there was earthquake in Iran. And we raised £250,000 for the earthquake in Iran. There was the flood in Sudan, we raised the same amount again. And then there was Bangladesh cyclone. So in these three big catastrophes, we raised hundreds of thousands. That means that the organization started to shape itself. By 1992, we were one of the organizations who helped the stability of the Bosnian community and decreased the process of ethnic cleansing. So from 1989 when I came back to 1992, big change happened, which led me to stay. Khalas, finished. I finished my doctorate in 1991. We opened the office in Bosnia in 1992. We opened the office in Sudan in 1990, 1991, and that's it, khalas. We are organization now. And we had 1993 the registration at United Nations. So you can't leave now. Finished. Because before 1989, we were just like a small seed or one seed of having a small vegetation. By 1992 and 93, it becomes a tree and a fruitful tree. Yes, sir.
I have a question. So it was like you said, a seed, a tree, but now it's a forest.
Yes.
I have a question. Maybe it's too soon. I don't know.
No. Carry on.
In the future, how, in your opinion and your vision, how do we keep the Islamic Relief family together? While now we are raising more than $200 million around the world.
No, it's more than that.
Yeah, more 300.
I'll tell you later on. Just finish. Okay.
But how do we keep also the vision and what you said before, like people keep in mind that we are humanitarian before even being marketing or, I don't know, social media or I don't know. How do we keep this in mind and keep people also being invested in the cause?
Your question is about a seed became a vegetation, became a tree, became a forest. While this big growth over the last 40 years, how can we maintain the principles, the values, the connectivity, and the family together? The more you water the roots of the tree will go deeper and deeper and deeper to stabilize the trunk. And the trunk will carry the branches where the birds and animals will eat the fruits, and the droplets will be put in different parts of the world. Without watering the roots, without looking at the roots of the tree, your tree can be uprooted quite easily. مثل كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها. The resemblance of the good word, it was لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله, like the good tree. This good tree got many branches coming out of it. The more you water the roots of the big tree or the good tree, the more the trunk will be wider and the more the branches will be diverse. تأتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها. Each branch of this big tree will bear different fruits at different seasons to be eaten by different birds and animals. So they take the seeds and throw it somewhere else. If you don't water the roots, the trunk will be small, the branches will be less, the leaves will be fewer, and the fruits will be one or two fruits only. What is the process of watering? The water here to supply to water the roots is the value, the principles, the morality, the vision, the mission, and the message. The objectives. Why have you started this organization? Was it economical or social or humanitarian? I give you an example given to us by one of the greatest businessmen in Egypt. Could be some of those people, could be in different parts of the world. He started as an orphan and he refused to call himself a businessman, رجل أعمال. He always called himself as a tradesman, تاجر. Said that businessman is just fake word. I make trade or I trade to sell, or I sell to trade. My trading is to sell, not to make profits. Businessman mentality is to make profit. Okay? I trade to sell to the people. If my objective was selling, that means I have to produce a good quality with less cost, and depends on how my product will be sold in different parts of the world. I trade to sell, not I trade to make money. This was his first objective. The second objective was I trade to employ young people like you. Every year, I want to employ new people. If I have 10, I want 20 next year. If I have 20, I want 100. And he was hoping to employ 1,000 employees every year. You know, when he died, he went from a budget, he started with 30 pence when he was at the age of 6 years in the countryside. To end, his life was ended by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a few years ago, and had a holding group of 15 companies with factories, with 40,000 employees. Most of them at your age and younger. Because he trade to sell and trade to employ people. Islamic Leaf or others do the business to empower. This is the roots. You water the roots of empowerment. You water the roots of education. You water the roots of dignity. You water the roots of building community. You water the roots of advocacy. Water all these roots. The more you water it, the more that each one of them, look at the microphone, if no, the microphone. Is it? Okay. If you stop watering the roots of education or of empowerment, of health or of dignity, your tree will be weak. Your tree will have very weak roots. The roots could be eaten by ants, insects, or animals. Not only that, but this tree, which keep watering it with this kind of things, the values, will have deeply rooted roots to the bottom of land. Surface roots, you can see them sometimes when you go to certain old, trees, the surface on the surface roots. Then some trees have area roots. Roots come from the branches to the ground. 3 roots. The more you water the roots, the more the roots give you new roots. And look at the long-standing trees, which living for 300, 400, 500 years. And they have got deep roots, surface roots, and area root. And here, nobody ever will be able to uproot a tree like this. Because such a tree, both its investment in values and in people. The people are the people that they serve, and the people are the people that they are serving. You are the people who should be serving others. An organization which does not have youth, and woman is a limbing or one-eyed organization. It should have men, should have young people, should have women. Because men has criteria to look at the problem differently to young people like you who are very hyper energetic or hyperactive, or to a woman or a girl who looked at the problem emotionally. Emotion, dynamic, and wisdom. Emotion, dynamic, and wisdom. EDW. WED, DEW, WED, DEW. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. The three of them will make the family. The woman, actually, the young people, and the elderly. A unisex, uni-age organization is just a walking being, not even scratching the surface of the earth. Don't ever become a unisex or an organization which attract certain age of people. You have to have the young people with the energy, the woman with the emotion, reaction, and the wise men with the wisdom. This is actually the tree and the seed and the forest. But it takes 40 years. It takes 40 years. And the figure you said is far more less. We don't deal with dollars, we deal with pounds. And if you collect all what is being raised in different parts of the world, it will be more than that.
Oh, I was just thinking about last year.
This only
Just 1 year. Just 1 year.
this is only what has been come to IRW.
Okay.
What has been raised by every country. Yes.
I had a question about the wisdom, the last component that you mentioned.
It's not okay.
So you mentioned the importance of going to field trips, even for us fundraisers who are saving.
Going to field trips, yeah.
To do trips, to actually immerse with the people, to actually understand the problems, to feel their emotions and their situation.
Yes.
When such field trips take place, what are the lessons that we should take from your experience?
What if you talk about the field trips? Like if I take you with me to Bosnia now, or I take you with me to Macedonia, or I take you with me to Afghanistan, or to Pakistan, or to India, or to Bangladesh, or to Sudan, or to South Sudan, or whatever you call it. First of all, you go there with a listening ear and observing eyes. You listen to the people's need and you observe their condition. And you have a teacher to teach you. Could be the country director, could be the local program manager, or could be somebody like me traveling with you. Because sometimes you don't see the full reality because you do not have the experience. But if somebody like Jamal or other people travel with you who have been to this place many times, he will explain to you the different vision. Or if you listen to the country director or the project manager or to the people directly, you will be able to pick up the depth of the problem. That's why if you go alone, you have to learn how to shut up, listen, observe, and comprehend what's being said to you by the people who suffer 24 hours a day before you start opening your mouth. And try not to keep making promises. Never make promises to the people. Never ever make promises to the people. Because quite often we might not be able to fulfill such promises. Yes.
Thank you for the answer first. It was really clear. And
Can we switch this one off because it's the air condition or the fan is making my neck sweat. Not.
it's okay if you leave it here.
I'll keep it to you, not for me.
Just fix that. That's your position.
Fix it to your side. Yes, your question till he comes back. عايز تسأل سؤال؟
أنا لا.
حرام. Yes, brother.
Yeah. What made you
What made me what?
leave in 1999 when you said that you were fed up with this?
1989.
1990, yeah, 1999. What made you, I would say, take a break or just pause things with Islamic belief?
What made me to decide to leave Islamic belief in 1989? Because there was nothing clear. There was just some Islamic belief was not grown to be some entity at that time. So I thought, it is difficult and I have some difficulty with writing. So it was a combination of having difficulty to do my PhD or my Doctor of Medicine and difficulty to see what Islamic belief is going to be. So with this lack of understanding of what's going to happen later on, I decided to take a wrong decision. It was a wrong decision. Uncalculated decision. Okay? And this sometimes you look at how many wrong decisions we have taken in our life. Quite often we take the wrong decision. But if Allah loves you, He will let you go back on your decision and try to correct it. And so at that time, it was the difficulty of seeing Islamic belief growing, the difficulty of seeing me that even understanding what my PhD is about or the doctorate is about. And so this kind of uncertainty happening to me and happening to anybody. At a certain point, you take a wrong decision, either can end your career or can let you to have another jump somewhere else. But alhamdulillah, I tried and I failed to find the farm. And I listened to the advice of my colleague in Egypt. He told me, go back, finish your Doctor of Medicine and come back, we'll find the farm for you. And when I went back, I never go back. I never went back to Egypt to find the farm. Now I'm still here. Even when I came to Egypt, not to Egypt, when I came to UK, and this is a story for you. I was trying to get married. And I found a very young Egyptian, beautiful, doctor, and she likes me and I liked her. Okay? And because Allah did not decide for me to marry her, her mother and father were sitting in the room with me and said, how long will you be staying here? I said, about 2-3 years and go back. This was the cutting edge. The mother said, no way. The girl was crying, the father was upset. The mother said, no way. So I didn't marry her. I was very upset. But actually, in this statement which I made, there was goodness for me. في كل خير في شر في كل شر في خير. I thought that it was not good for me to say that, but it was good for me to say that. Because at the end of the day, Allah decided for me to marry the one who would be able to stay with me and build the Islamic belief. Okay? It was not this young, beautiful Egyptian doctor who could have stood to build Islamic Cliff with me. That's why it was a painful. It was not Bosnian, huh? Or Macedonian, huh? More beautiful than your people. I know that he is very proud of the beauty of this area, the Macedonian and the Bosnian, and the Balkan beauty, which is combination between the European and the Turk.
That's true.
I know it. I've been there before you were born.
So I have a follow-up question for you, Sam.
Yes.
There is, of course, a difference between Islamic relief in 1989
Of course.
and Islamic relief after 1993.
That's right.
After the registration with the
United
United
Nations.
Now, we now understood the reasons why you sort of decided to leave in 1989 and start farming, which but then in 2008 you left definitely.
Sorry?
In 2008
Hey, I left here.
you left Islamic relief.
I see. Okay.
What were the main reasons why
Okay.
you decided?
You said there's a difference between 1989, 1993, and 2008. 1989, I quit Islamic Relief to become a farmer, and I failed. I came back. 1993, we are in the United Nations. We forgot about the farm, and I'm staying as a farmer, but actually in Birmingham. 2008, I left the Islamic Relief. Is that right? That's your question. Between 1989 and 2003, Islamic Relief became having a shape like fundraising offices, field offices, and registration with the international community, program and structure and projects. After 1993, in 2008, between 1993 and 2008, another 15 years. So you're talking about from 84 to 2008, 24 years. After 2002, 2004, my job was to become president of Islamic Relief. President means I have to travel the whole world with less responsibility to find new opportunities, to do advocacy, and to discover new lands. I found that my humanitarian role is finished. Fundraising, projects, and others. At the last days of my prison in Islamic Relief, from my travel, which has been provided to me by Islamic Relief, we organized the first ever conference about how the Muslims should respond to and help the victims of HIV/AIDS. This was in 2007. While I was in Islamic Relief, we created what we call Humanitarian Forum to build the bridges between the Muslim and the Muslim organization. While I was in Islamic Relief for the last few years, we built Muslim Child's Forum. Islamic Relief cannot do, as any other organization, any other operational organization cannot do a coordination, networking for the sector, because it could be seen as a competitor, not as a neutral. So the role which has been given to me when I became mature inside Islamic Relief is to play this role, to become the connector, the transformer between this side of the world and this side of the world. Even inside the same country, between the Muslim organization, very difficult to put the Muslim organization on one table. Very difficult.
How come?
Huh?
How come? Why?
How come? Try. Go and try. I've been trying. It is the ego and the logo. Difficult to bring the Syrian to one table. The ego and the logo. Quite often. So when Islamic Relief gave me the opportunity to travel between 2003 to 2008, I discovered the new horizon, which Islamic Relief as an operational organization cannot take it. That's why we have to decide to leave Islamic Relief and build these two organizations, which is Humanitarian Forum and Muslim Child's Forum. Okay. Muslim Charities Forum between the Muslim charities in UK. Humanitarian organization was between the Muslims and the Muslim globally. Actually, that's why in 89, 93, 2008, there's a process. You cannot treat your child when he was 5, the same that you treat him when he is 15, the same that you treat him when he is or she is 20, 25. 5 years old child have got a different philosophy of treating. 14, 15 years old child has the mentality of teenager. 20, 25 years has the mentality of young man or young woman. And you, as a parent, you cannot treat the child at these different ages the same. So when I became a young man qualified or trained or developed by Islamic Leaf over the first 24 years of my life, I started to quit to do something else. From 2008 up till now, it's nearly 15 years. The process of building Humanitarian Forum, Muslim Charities Forum started before that. 20 years from 2004, when the inception of the idea of Muslim Charities Forum and the Humanitarian Forum started, till 2023, it's 20 years, we're still struggling to build, to connect, to create the partnership, to communicate. Because organization is about logo and ego. The only president in the history of the recent Muslim Ummah who decided to step down was the late president of Sudan, Field Marshal Abdurrahman Suraddah. Nobody else. And he was the field marshal, has the army under his control. But he said 1 year is 1 year. He's the only one. So why shouldn't you follow him? Why should you be staying in your position till we die? Your time is up.
You leave opportunities for others.
That's right. And 2008 I left. Now what year is it now? How many years after I left? 15 years. When I left, it was about 80, 90 million pound. Now, what came to Islamic Leaf worldwide in the headquarters is 231 million pounds. Only to the IRW, not to the whole family. So that means that my departure was very healthy. Get rid of him. We don't want him anymore.
And
Yes, of course. Go on.
so you gave us advices. If we go to the field, the most important thing, don't make any promises that we cannot fulfill, and listen. And in general, in the operational work, the everyday work, what would you advise or recommend for young people like us that just started at Islamic Relief?
I give you advice to go to the field, to observe, to listen, to comprehend. What advice I can give to you as young people, actually, at that time? How old are you now?
29.
The people who built the Islamic Relief were younger than you. You're old.
Yeah, we are all like.
No. In the mid-20, 1993, we attracted young people. Let me mention their names. Harun Atallah, all of them less than 30. Nasruddin Haj Hamid, Mustafa Osman, Fadi Atani, Jangir Malik, Anwar Khan, Saleh Said, Sakandar Ali. 8. Sikandar, Jahangir, and Anwar were definitely less than 25. The rest, most of them were at your age, 28, 29, 27. Those were the people who made the boom. Okay? Who made that. And they managed to work hard. There was no limit for the working hour daily. There was nothing called Saturday, Sunday, it's a weekend. Not on my table. During Ramadan, those people used to open the office till midnight. During Ramadan, we used to have something called caravan tour. What do I mean by caravan tour? That a car will take an exhibition and leaflet and go from Birmingham to go around the whole country for the 30 days, come back on day of Eid. No day they spend with their family. I forgot Tariq Afifi in Germany. I forget also Jamal Karaf. I don't know how old was he now. He was in the early 30s, but he was in France. Then we took him from France to Switzerland. All of them came at that time. So for 30 days, look at your wife and my wife and their wives. We have never had iftari with our family during Ramadan for 7 years. Never had even Eid with our children. Sometimes we were in Middle East, Trust Fund. Sometimes we're in Latin America. Sometimes we're still on the road. Go to ask Tariq Afifi. In Germany, he was telling me, Doc, I used to come after Eid. He's still the country director of Islamic Life. This is how, at this age of yours, we were working like donkeys. I love donkey. I call it donkeyship. From the age of 15 to the age of 40, we should all of us work like donkeys. And during these 15, 25 years, you have to work hard to learn, to gain the experience, and to be able to build your confidence to become a teacher. So the first phase is donkeyship, which you should be in the donkeyship stage. The tribe, Brother Ahmed? Donkeyship. Now you are in it. Then from donkeyship to go to the wake-up caller, which you call it in Arabic مسحراتي. Explain to them in French what مسحراتي means.
زي يعني السحارة المسحرة.
في رمضان مش في حاجة مسحراتي بيصحيك من النوم عشان تصلي وعشان تاخد السحور. Tell them in French.
C'est le matin.
Non, il y a une tradition chez les Arabes. C'est quelqu'un le matin qui réveille les gens pour le secours. Tu vois, c'est une tradition avant ça.
So after these 20 years, you have the confidence, you have the history, you have the experience to wake people up. Come on, wake up. Then the third stage, you will be like a blending mixer. You know, when you go to the kitchen with your wife, you want to make a juice cocktail, or she wants to make cake. She put eggs, flour, butter, sugar in the blending mixer and becomes a dawi. عليكم السلام. تفضل.
إذا لم أجد j'ai pas trouvé la menthe. J'ai compensé un peu avec les cerises. Vraiment, il y a une rupture de menthe. كيف حالك دكتور؟ كيف أصبحت؟
الحمد لله.
لم أجد النعناع. نحن نقبلك هنا. لما أجد النعناع حتى أصنع لكم شاي.
مش ممكن، احنا شاينا على شايك.
لأن عندكم البسكويت.
يلا عندنا كل حاجه الحمد لله.
وجدت هذا أم لا؟
ده بتاعي، ده لقيته عندي في الشنطه عندي.
مناسب لك.
شغال.
شغال.
اه
إن اشتريت.
وان شكرتم لازيدنكم،
نعم.
ولئن شكرتم لازيدنكم. انا بشكرك يعني ازيدنني بقى.
لأن ذهبت وسط المدينة.
أز...
اشتريت واحد.
ازيدنني.
هذا سنحتفظ به هنا.
لا شفت ازيدنني.
نحتفظ به هنا.
كنت اضحك عليك واقول لك انا معيش.
ماذا؟
كنت هضحك عليك واقول لك ما معيش، لكن طلع معايا.
جيد جدا.
وده هديه من جنوب افريقيا. It's a gift from South Africa. يلا.
هو عنده هذا نحن نستفيد لأنه كم مرة جينا.
يلا. So the third stage is a blending mixer. To put things together, because you have the experience. You have been in the kitchen of the organization for 20, or of the street, the kitchen of the street for 25 years. Then the fourth stage is to produce a product with the young people. To put the young people with you, and the young people give you the idea. Take their ideas and change it into a product and give it back to them. To do what? To make the young people to be community builders. So donkey, wake up caller مسحراتي, blending mixer, and number 4 is community building by you. Okay? Then after that, you become on the 5th stage as a prophet, community prophet. What do I mean by community prophet? You can prophesize, تتنبأ بما سوف يحدث للمجتمع. You forecast and you make a prophecy to what can happen to the community. Because you have been in this business for 50 years. So you can, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 40 years ago, this happened. Be careful that when you do this will become like that. Because you have this wealth of knowledge. Then after that, brother Asim or Lasam? Asam. You become a clown. What do you mean become a clown? Because you went from the donkey stage to the prophecy stage. Your ability as a prophet is to play with the children. Because in the first stage, you attracted the young people and took their ideas and became a community product. And asked them to build the community. But you need to go deep down. The more maturity you have, the more ability to have that you will be able to connect with anybody in the community, especially of the children. Nowadays, we do this to speak with the children. And we write songs for them. If you be able to attract the young boys and girls, children, to mentor the young people and make them community builder, to work hard as a donkey, and to become a wake-up caller. That means you yourself letting your life cycle not to end, but keep going after becoming a clown. Because the child will listen to you, the young people will listen to you, and the community will follow you. Clear? What time is it now?
11:15.
Have you finished the first session, or you want to?
Up to you.
No, up to you. Because if you want to take a break for 10-15 minutes and come back, we can discuss something else, unless you want to ask something.
I had a question, but it requires a lot of. It's about zakat.
Huh?
If you have time, maybe I can.
Okay, I think if we, because we don't want to You have to take a break to refresh yourself, to make coffee or tea. What is this?
Church.
I don't know what is this.
It's a shirt.
This is اللي بنسميه شري ولا بنسميه what is the other one? Craze?
Cerise.
Yeah, okay.
Cerise.
There is, okay. It's Swiss one.
The fraise is strawberry.
Not strawberry.
No.
No strawberry. Okay, we'll break now. We'll come after 15 minutes. Inshallah. Can you put it off? End it.